Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Aaron Heller from Hamilton Township, New Jersey, and you are now watching the Fire Engineering and IFSI's Humpday Hangout on training, which we do the first Wednesday of every month. And with me today, we're going to be talking. We've got some total pros here on firefighter fitness and wellness. And so I've got Jim Moss and Dan Kerrigan and Steve Shaw, our esteemed board today. And we're going to get into it pretty quickly. As always, we have to start out. We are in the holy month, obviously, as a bunch of us get our bags ready to leave for Indianapolis. I'm headed out on Friday, driving a truck full of garage doors and props. So that'll be a cool 12-hour drive. But we want to let you know there is still some time. You can still get in on FDIC. You are still in on the best training that you can find worldwide. When you're going to have over 30,000 firefighters in one place, sharing ideas, sharing equipment, and sharing all these new concepts, how can it get any better? So we're definitely going to there's nothing like it. I kind of lose it when I talk about it because there's just nothing like it. So there is still time. There are still some spots available in some of the hot classes, although most things have filled up pretty well. And there's a lot of different things that you can do. So take a look. Even last minute, you can get in, you can get out to Indy, and you can share in it, even if it's only for a few of the days. Don't miss out if at all possible. So we'll be glad to see you there, and certainly we'll be banging around the whole week. So to get started, how about we introduce ourselves? Like I said, I'm Aaron Heller from Hamilton Township, New Jersey. I'm a captain there, and I own On Scene Training Associates. And since we were on FDIC, I'm the lead instructor for the Commercial Fireground Hot class. So I think we've got a few seats left each day, but not too many. So there's my plug for that. And if you guys will get right going. Steve, are you in? Can we hear you?
Well, can you hear me now?
Sure.
All right. Well, yeah, I was having some technical difficulties.
All right. So Steve Shaw, we cannot hear you.
No.
Or I cannot hear you.
I heard him.
Did you? Okay. I'm not hearing you.
How about now? Anybody hear
Maybe
me?
It's on my end.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, if you guys can hear me, I'll keep talking. Just to do a quick intro. I'm Steve Shaw, Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue. I'm the Battalion Chief of Training and Special Operations.
All right. Sorry about that.
Proud FSI member, and I'm looking forward to this conversation today on firefighter functional fitness. I'm really a big proponent of it in my department, and I'm really looking forward to hearing Dan and Jim what they have to say and how we can incorporate that into our programs.
Awesome. I'm Dan Kerrigan. I'm outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in East Whiteland Township, and as Chief Fire Marshal and Emergency Management Coordinator here, and responsible for my department's health and fitness program here. So yeah, we'll also be out there at FDIC. That's our little plug. We'll be doing a workshop on Tuesday morning, April 9th at 8 o'clock. And then we have a class on Thursday afternoon at 3:30. So as Aaron said, you have to experience it in person to truly get the full effect. So if you can make it, come on out, and you won't be disappointed. I'm happy to be here.
I am Jim Moss, along with Dan. I'm the co-author of Firefighter Functional Fitness. I am a fire captain at the Metro West Fire Protection District in St. Louis County, Missouri. Dan and I have been working together a long time, touring all around the U.S., preaching the firefighter functional fitness message, trying to create a healthier fire service, one firefighter at a time. So excited to be here. And like Dan said, we got a class at FDIC on Tuesday morning, the pre-conference at 8 a.m., and then a class all about building a culture of firefighter fitness at fire departments on Thursday afternoon at 3:30. So thanks so much, guys, for having us on the Hangout. We're so excited to talk about firefighter fitness. I think Aaron can't hear us. There he is. He's unmuted.
Are you there, Aaron?
You know what? I can hear Dan, but I can't hear Steve and Jim. So I'm going to hop off, reboot.
Okay.
So Steve, you guys take it away, get started, and I'll come back to you. Let's hope we can get this
Steve,
started.
you're it.
I'm it. Tag, I'm it. Okay. Well, prior to us getting started today, we were just first of all, can you hear me now? Is it okay?
Yep.
I can hear it
Okay.
fine.
So prior to getting started, you know, we do this monthly Humpday Hangout on training and such, and obviously with FDIC coming up, we're happy to have this kind of prior to, because we're looking forward to always talk about training, but also this is a huge part of it. The functional fitness, the fact that you need to be able to do what you need to do in regards to the fitness, to physical activity, to working out, to health and wellness. So I'm excited that this is all starting to tie in right before FDIC, because I think they're giving you guys this space right before the conference. Hopefully you'll get a increase in people out there, because this is such an important topic. And before I go on, Aaron, can you chime in there? Are you good?
Well, I heard you, so I guess I'm doing better. I guess
All
I'm
right.
doing better. Yeah. So all I caught was the last sentence, but yeah, this is a really timely topic. And I can tell you, even in just your personal life and everything else, I'm seeing it more and more, especially as we get older. The fitness and wellness in our area was something that has been ignored for a long time. A lot of firehouses put in gyms or did whatever, but then from there, it just kind of dropped off and not much was getting done. And I am seeing a trend where it's starting to come back. And I really believe it's because of guys like our panel that are on today, guys like Jim and Dan, guys like Pip from 555 Fitness. You know, he's not far from, actually lives in the next town over from where I work. And I think it's because of these guys who are really pumping it out there, and so many others now, that it's finally coming back to the forefront, and it needs to be, because you know, we know that we get sick. We know that we have cardiac issues. We know the workload's not going to get any easier. So the only thing we can do is fix us. We're not going to change it. So from that, you know, I guess the next big thing would be, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what you guys see as what we've been through and where you think we should be going. So whoever wants to jump in, let's start there.
Well, like you said, it doesn't get any easier. We just get older, right? So that's why, from whether, you know, we're 20, 30, 40, or 50, you know, it's never too late to take ownership of our own health and fitness. Because, I mean, if we don't have our own health, we don't have our own fitness. I mean, what else do we have? I mean, so Dan and I preach all the time. That's the basic, that is the minimum, you know, getting our fitness together. And we're not saying that people have to have six-pack abs or be on the cover of Mr. Universe or whatever, you know, just making sure that we're functional, making sure that we can do the job without, you know, we can walk up a flight of stairs in our full gear without being completely winded, and we're still able to work after that. You know, those are the basic things that we're trying to improve with firefighters all around. And it takes time. It's a cultural thing. And that's why one of our classes at FDIC is all about the culture and building the fitness culture within each fire department. And so there's a lot of different things that we can do, and it's not too complicated. But as we all know, it starts at the grassroots level. It starts with the individual. And as Dan and I preach, it's all about your attitude, your own accountability. And it's all about taking action with yourself first before you can spread that message within your own fire department.
Yeah, I think relative to the conversation today and to the focus of ISFSI and all that. I mean, we were talking before we went live about how important it is to start instilling and inserting these kinds of training programs and you know, the knowledge and so forth in the recruit academies. I mean, you know, people work out to try to get in shape to pass a CPAT or whatever, and where do they go from there? They meet a minimum, they pass a test, but are we putting this stuff into the fire academies as part of their recruit program and instilling that attitude, and also putting them through that work right from the start, and so that they come out of the academy with it already ingrained in them, and go to the stations and go to work with that already working for them. So I think it's really important that we work toward, not just, of course, it's not just about working out, right? It's about getting your medical evaluations. It's about proper nutrition. It's about hydration, you know, rest and recovery. There's a whole pile of things that all come together for comprehensive firefighter fitness. But one of the things that's important to me, at least, is to get it started from square one.
Excellent. Well, and that starts bringing up questions. So we have a lot of guys out there, and I like that you said, you know, from 20 to 50, and so I'm just hitting 50. I don't believe that, and it doesn't. You know, I
right
might look 60. I might look 60, but I really only feel like 45. You know, but I look at this and I think, okay, where I work, there was a time where they brought us in a trainer, and it was fantastic. They got a grant money, but when the grant money ran out, guess who ran out? And they didn't rebudget for it. But it was fantastic for us. But there was an issue with one of the things was we had firefighters that were in the group who were 22 years old, and we had guys who were 55 years old. And trying to find that happy median when you're doing a group exercise or a morning, they would bring them in for about an hour to clip. So how would you recommend that type of thing get worked out?
Yeah. So I lead battalion fitness training at my own fire department. And at each of the stations, if we have some type of weight or load or something like that, some type of resistance, I try and provide 3 different levels. So if we're going to do, say, farmer's carries or a suitcase carry where we're carrying 2 kettlebells, I'll have 2 20s, 2 40s, and 2 60s, or maybe even heavier or whatever, so that the individual gets to pick what they want to do. So whether it's a body weight exercise, you can always regress or make easier, something like that. If we're doing a push-up, you can do a push-up from your knees if you have to. And I always communicate, because we all know as firefighters, we have different injuries, whether it's shoulders, hips, back, knees, ankles, whatever. We all have different injuries that we've been through before. Myself, I've had a pec and a shoulder injury. So I might need to change the workout and customize it, regress it, and modify it for what I need to do, because I know my problem areas. And that's what I try and communicate to people, and Dan does too. Adjust it to what you need to do, and no one's going to judge you for that. If you're carrying the 20-pound kettlebells, no one cares. You know, and the other guy's carrying the 60-pound kettlebells, no one cares. Just do what you can do. And I think the fact that, like you said, having the group all together in a group workout, that's what's most important. That's what's going to build that camaraderie. It's going to up morale. You know, just getting the group together, sweating, and encouraging each other is really uplifting for the group and for the fire department as a whole.
There's an important component that Aaron brought up, but I just want to mention that sometimes what we're fighting is not just it's not just a motivation thing. I think a lot of firefighters out there, I'd like to think they know that they need to be in better shape, or that they need to maintain their fitness and health. When it comes to implementing fitness programs in fire departments, it's important to recognize and reinforce that none of this is a punitive action. So we've got to make sure that everybody understands that we're not looking to fire people because they can't make the grade or anything like that. This is all about helping people get healthier, more fit, being higher performers on the fire ground, and also being able to enjoy their retirement when they're done. And none of that's punitive in my mind. So we've got to kind of get away from that too. I hear some stories every now and then about the concerns about, you know, I could get fired if I don't pass this test or whatever, and that's not really what this is about. So you know, we really, as chief officers, have to buy into that non-punitive, the positive aspects of better fitness.
That's a really important point, because, you know, when we've started bringing in the trainer, and we probably started doing this 20 years ago originally with the original board that we had, that was a big question that the union had. What happens when a guy gets hurt? Is it a, you know, on the job injury? What happens if a guy's not maintaining his physical fitness, or he's dogging it during these workouts? How are we going to deal with that? And it felt to me at the time that some of our guys were more hyped on how to get around it, and more, you know, they were developing excuses just to develop excuses. And over time that went away, and it was proven that we were doing better, and things worked out. But I do still see that in some places. And so that might be my next question, would be, one of the things that kept getting thrown up was the liability. Oh, there's a liability when a guy gets hurt on the job, and blah, blah, blah. My thing to them was, well, it's a pretty big liability when you can't do your job either. So that was my concern. And then the thing that we found when we started doing this, and we don't have good documentation where I work about it, but we found that we weren't having the strain and sprains, not nearly the injuries that we have. And in the last year and a half, since our program has really been over, we're seeing more of it again. The back injuries, the shoulder injuries, the knees. I don't have the numbers to say, you know, I don't want to be that guy that says, you know, figures lie and liars figure, but man, it sure, if you look at it with a blind eye, it looks pretty clear. So
funny how that works, isn't
where
it?
where do we go with that?
Well, I would think, first of all, you don't have to look any further than, as an example, the Wellness Fitness Initiative has a tremendous amount of documentation and proof that demonstrates not only the improvements in health and wellness that are realized by the firefighters, but the return on investment is tremendous, right? And so all you have to do is go to that document, just as an example, to look at real, unrefutable proof that wellness programs benefit everybody. I mean, we're always trying to dispel myths about liability and so forth, but I struggle to find an insurance company that is against healthier people that they're insuring. So there's a lot of, I'll just be honest and say there are excuses. I mean, there's a lot of excuses out there, but we can pretty much tell you the right way to go about it, no matter what your own challenge is. The idea is to get down to what it is, learn the concerns of the different groups, sit down at the table and work through them in a positive fashion. You know, that's all you can do sometimes.
So at my fire department, when you're speaking more so to the liability aspect, like we're talking about right now, at my fire department, physical fitness is just mandated. It's part of our excuse me, it's part of our collective bargaining agreement. It's in policy. We have 2 different types of physical fitness evaluations each year. So for us, since it's in policy, it is, if someone gets injured, it is a workers' compensation claim that they can make if they need to. And so what we're trying to do is educate our firefighters on the proper way, the functional way to work out, instead of lifting things incorrectly or doing things with improper form. We're trying more so to educate first from the ground level up, so that they can make the right choices, instead of, you know, while they're on duty trying to deadlift 600 pounds or whatever it is. So it's a process all around. And as Dan was talking about, the cost justification of fire departments that have implemented the Wellness Fitness Initiative, I mean, it's anywhere from a 1-to-1 return of investment. So every $1 spent on fitness and health for firefighters is $1 return. It can go all the way up to $3, $5, and some studies have shown when it's specific to back injury prevention, it's all the way up to $12 return of investment for every $1 invested. So there really is no argument, and like you said, it's only excuses for people to not start working out and taking better care of themselves. We just need to figure out how to get around all those excuses, whether it's someone saying it's liability or something else like that. We need to get around that. And as I mentioned before, it comes back to that personal mindset, that personal accountability. And once we start rolling with all that, it starts building from positive peer pressure from then on out. I've seen it at my fire department at the crew level, where, you know, maybe only one person starts working out, but you just asked your fellow crew member, hey, you want to hit the gym with me today? Okay, what time are you thinking? 3:30 or something like that? Okay. And they might say, hey, I can't do what you do or something like that, but that's okay. You modify your workout, make your workout easier. And just even being together, if you're not doing the same exact workout in the gym, just doing something together. And then you get offer that, you know, that invitation to someone else. Hey, you want to join us? So there's 3 guys working and there's 4, you know, so it's a snowball effect. And it just takes place one person at a time, one shift at a time. And that's what we have to do.
Excellent. And that's the case. I know with us, we're working at that, and we'll talk more about that as we go. I know where I work on my platoon, it's a 1-engine house. There's 4 of us in there at the time, and sometimes the chief. And I have one guy who likes to work out at 3 o'clock because I think he likes to watch Ellen or whatever, which is cool. That's his time. I like working out first thing in the morning because by 3 o'clock, I would prefer to nap for success if I could. I usually can't, but it's nice. But I got to get it over with in the morning, or my workout's probably crap in the afternoon. So you're right. But bringing the guys together, and that is and talking fire while we're doing it too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's another training point.
You're going back to the same point that Jim brought up right from the beginning. Is it still comes down to a personal, individual commitment.
Yeah.
If you're a firefighter that doesn't understand that your health and wellness is important, and then we have other issues to overcome first, right? And one of them may be possibly the excuses that, well, I'm waiting for my fire department to institute a program or what have you. Our approach really, without, I guess you could say, a national mandate, if you will, for minimum requirements for fitness, is to go to the individual firefighter and say, you're responsible for this, whether your department provides it or not. This is part of what you have to accept when you swear the oath. This is a requirement of your job, okay? And it's no different than whether your department provides physicals or not. That doesn't mean you shouldn't go to the doctor and get an occupational physical. So right. We've got to get to the individual firefighters and say, hey, just start doing something. You know, don't wait for somebody to mandate it or tell you what to do. The resources are out there. There's tremendous amount of resources out there to help get anybody going that needs to get going, you know, but they have to have that attitude right from the start, not wait for somebody to tell them to do it.
And that's finding self-motivation is always the key in everything in the fire service that we're seeing. So Steve, down your way, I'm sure you have policy and procedures on this. You're a big department and you've got lots of guys involved. Tell us what you guys are doing down there.
Well, it seems like in the South Florida culture, we have a pretty decent fitness culture down here. Definitely an increasing health and wellness initiative in the South, and it's very encouraging to see. Very encouraging to see. I mean, you know, as a training chief, I try to get around there, and every time I seem to stop at a station, it seems to be either a topic of discussion or something that's on their minds. Or if I go there 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to the stations I'm going to, I will see guys and girls working out, flipping tires, or just walking and just doing something with exercise. So we have a very strong culture of that, and it's getting better and better and better. Our health and wellness folk from the Fort Lauderdale area, for example, just got some grant funding to put brand new equipment in the stations. And it's not just equipment, it's the not just weights, it's now the bands and the lighter weight stuff that maybe wasn't considered, you know, flashy and stuff, but it's actually functional. It's actually for everybody. So I definitely have seen a lot of increased culture down here in the South, and it's very nice to be part of that. I will tell you some of the things you had just said a second ago kind of rang into my head. Now, you know, everybody wears different hats. The hat I'm wearing today is the training chief. So for me, I keep telling my bosses, you know, I'm not going to stop training. We're always going to train. We're always going to do hands-on training. Now, I have to also admit that statistically speaking, that may come with the possibility of somebody getting injured, you know, just fluke accidents. We take as many safety precautions as we can, but yes, we're training. Yes, we're putting on our gear. Yes, we're doing physical things that may incur injury. So my other hat is, well, how do I best combat that? How do I best prep our folk out there or encourage that? And fitness is one of those. If they're healthier, if they're fitter, they will concentrate more on the drill as opposed to the sweating and the not being in shape to do the drill. So I'm a big proponent of the fitness because it makes training more effective. And if the training's more effective, they're safer, they're more productive, they're more professional. So I'm a big fan of the fitness part of this. You mentioned return on investment. I love the term ROI because in our field today, you know, as well as everybody else, the data talks. Data is king, data is queen. So if I can't justify it on return on investments, if I can't justify it quantitatively, a lot of my bosses don't want to hear it. So I love that you mentioned some of those statistics, the 1-to-1, the 1-to-12 even. That's how I sell things these days. My bosses won't hear me unless I bring data with me. And it's so wonderful that you seem to be collecting a lot of that because that's what's the big ticket item these days. Another thing you mentioned is that you have policies and SOPs. I think, Jim, you mentioned this. That's phenomenal, man. The fact that it's in your procedures that you will train, you will become fit in some way, shape, or form. That's next level, man. I think that, and we talked about this a couple Humpday Hangouts ago where, you know, part of us didn't want certain legislative bodies interfering with what we had to and can't, or what we can do training wise. I kind of like a little bit more because now I have to. I like the extra teeth that says, you know, guys, we have to do this. Girls, we have to do this. So let's find a way to make it work. It's not a choice anymore. We have a very physically demanding job. The public, our clientele expect things from us. We have to be ready to go. There's no debate about it. It's not a choice. And I'm sorry if I'm going off on a tangent. I apologize.
No, keep going.
Oh, keep going.
Anyway,
you're hired.
So I do think I like a couple of things you said. It's definitely cultural. The culture down here is strong and it's nice and it's contagious. You mentioned it's bringing a friend or bringing a group. If you're doing it, it's going to be contagious. And that works both ways. If I'm sitting in the recliner all day, the rookie, the other crews, well, if he's sitting in the recliner, that's what I'm going to do today too. So just by doing it, just by getting up and doing it, you're encouraging people. And that +1 mentality is essential. And one of the last things I really liked was Aaron's quote on nap for success. I'm going to use that, by the way, Aaron, nap for success. I'm definitely going to use that in the future. I think it's jokey, but it's not, because when we look at all the studies of sleep and deprivation and stuff, you know, and this is the last thing I'll say before I jump off here. When I first started the job, there was this old salty lieutenant at the station I was at, and he ordered me my first year in the job. He ordered me to take a nap at 1 o'clock, and I'm like, LT, I'm not going to do that, because I'm ordering you to take a nap because we are going to get our rear ends handed to us tonight. Thus, you're taking a nap. That end of story. And I'm like, now I look back and I'm like, man, that guy was ahead of his time. That guy was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
But a lot of good things you're talking about here. But to answer the question at the beginning, the culture down here in South Florida is very favorable for not only physical fitness, but everything else you mentioned before, the nutrition, the rest recovery, the health and wellness. And I see that. And having this platform, having the platform for the ISFSI, having the platform for the training chiefs, I try to promote that as best I can to get us all on the same page and to do what I can to make sure we're better prepared.
That's awesome that you say that. And I love that you mentioned the nap part. I mean, because so many times we're all hard workers. We want to push, right? But sometimes we really do, especially on shift. You know, I work 48s where I'm at 2 days straight. We do the 48-96 schedule. So I'm more so the guy who's like, I just need to push through my tiredness and keep going. And then sometimes I just need to listen to my body and take a nap. And like you said, there's so much more and more data coming out about how it really affects us, the lack of sleep, the sleep deprivation, how it affects our minds, our hearts, our vasculature, our hormones. I mean, everything. It's all related, and sleep is a huge concept of that. So I will also say that there is a difference between napping for 20 to 30 minutes and napping for 5 to 6 hours in the middle of the day. So I think everybody knows that, but that goes without saying. Just to jump back a little bit, something that you spurred in my head when you were talking about cost justification. One of the things that fire departments are, I would say, apprehensive about with fitness is that they think it's going to cost so much, in particular, the equipment aspect of it. And maybe when it was back in the 80s, 90s, maybe even early 2000s, everybody thought we had to get these huge single function weightlifting machines that only do one thing for your body. So like a seated, military overhead press, that machine might cost $2,500, $3,000, and it only does one thing for us. Well, fast forward now almost to 2020. And we know now that if we're going to be optimally performing firefighters, we need different types of equipment. And the great thing is it's going to be more functional, simple, more cost-effective equipment. So Dan and I in our class, the 11 Steps to Creating a Culture of Firefighter Fitness, we have about 40 to 50 pieces of functional equipment total. And we kind of phrase it or term it for each firehouse, 40 to 50 pieces of functional fitness equipment, all combined for under $5,000, which some people think that it can't be done. We've done the research and we have the list that we give people. So if cost is one of the big factors, and especially equipment that people are scared of, that chiefs are scared to justify, come to our class and we'll be happy to let you know more simple and effective, cost-effective options for functional fitness equipment.
If you follow a couple simple principles, number one being if you have a body, you can exercise. Right? So that doesn't cost anything, just except effort and attitude. And you typically work in an environment where all around you have tools and equipment that you use out on the fire ground that you can also use to exercise as well. And the added bonus to that is that you're becoming more proficient with the equipment as you train with it and exercise with it. So it's all about function, not as Jim said earlier, not what you look like or anything like that. It's about function and performance. And there's many ways to do it. To, like Jim said, you eliminate all the excuses. There's not many, if any, at all. So it's right there in front of you. You just have to know how to do it.
Excellent. Well, and that leads to some other stuff, and we're hitting so many good topics right now, and I'm enjoying this because I know I'm never going to be that thin, ripped guy again. That was when I was 19 and 20, and that ship sailed. But I know that I can be more fit than I am today because I have been in the recent past. And you know, it's always that yo-yo, you're up and down, and whatever in your life changes things, and keeping on that path sometimes isn't as easy as it ought to be. But having programs like these, and I know that there's other groups that are out there that'll be at FDIC and the whole 9 yards. These are really important to the fire service today, more so than ever before, because the stressors that I see being put on our bodies, and again, from a very small scale of what I'm seeing, is like we've never had before. So the joke about nap for success, you know, our bosses never let us sleep during the day, even though we work 24/72. It's like the best part-time job in the world. Just don't tell the public. But when you get hit and you're working a 36 or you're working a 48, and I've been working 36s here in the last month or so, covering for a guy that's been injured. So I work a night, and then I'm on a day, and then I'm on a night. Well, if you get those couple calls in the middle of the night on that first shift, and then you catch those calls in the middle of the night on the second part of the 36, you're wiped. And how many of us take time the next day off to just sleep and chill and rehydrate and, you know, re-energize ourselves and get to the gym? I rarely get the chance to do that because of all the other jobs going on and everything else. And you guys, some of you guys with young kids and with all the other stressors of life, I see nothing wrong with, listen, if I can catch a half-hour's nap after lunch at the firehouse, it's okay because it's preparing me for what's coming next. And because our job is so much different than everybody else's, it's hard to make that. I can't see them correlating that as a problem. But a lot of officers to this day still do. And that's something that we need to continue the education process, classes like yours and the information that's out there, because why not help our people? We understand hydration better now than we ever did, right? I walk around the firehouse all day with one of these. It's, you know, I'm drinking more water. Of course, now I'm old, so I got to, you know, all right. I'm not as old as Bobby, so if he's listening, you know, I don't have to go as much as he does. But the point of it is, these are the simple things that we can do for our people, and it's not beating our people up. So it's that, as you say, it's the culture change. I really think it's the culture change. And with that, so here's some of the stuff that I'm seeing. And the more you're on social media, the more, you know, BS you see, but the more good stuff too. There's so many people out there now pushing stair climbs, pushing 5Ks, jumping on CrossFit stuff, jumping on all these different forms of exercises. I guess the key is finding what works for you, what works for your department. Can you guys expand on that a bit? Because for the new guy coming in there, or the newer, maybe not a new firefighter, but a firefighter who today sees us talking about it and goes, damn, I got to take some steps. So starting tomorrow, I'm going to do something. But they may not know what to do because they haven't been led, and they may not have an official program where they work.
Well, I like that you said that all of this is just part of the educational process, not only for the higher ups, but also for the newer people as well. I was just at an engine house for 4 years to where we got a lot of the newer people, the newer hires. And one of the expectations I would always communicate is that we will make the attempt. I don't say you always have to, but you at least make the attempt every 24-hour shift, every day that we're on duty. You will make the attempt to work out in some fashion. That doesn't mean you have to do exhausting, brutal 60-minute workout. Maybe it's just a 20-minute light jog or whatever you like doing. So going back to company officers, we definitely need to be leading the way not only to, like you said, the higher ups and educating them, but educating our new hires too, and make it just simply part of our expectations and the example that we're leading. As for what the question you just asked, you know, we put out a lot of motivational posters on our social media, out on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and everything. And one of them that I really like is a firefighter that's working out, and it says, "Fitness is not one size fits all." I mean, yes, Dan and I, you know, wrote a book on what we believe is a great general approach for functional fitness for firefighters, but every individual is a little bit different. And I'll be honest, and we say this in all of our workshops, I hate running. I might have a runner's body, but I hate running, and the only way I'm going to run is if someone's chasing me, and maybe I won't even run if someone's chasing me. I hate it that much. I might do some quick sprints, but I'm not the endurance kind of runner athlete guy. That might surprise a lot of people, but so that's not something I integrate into my workouts a lot. But it's funny. I like to give, and Dan, we like to give people a broad range of exercises, whether it's working out with a sandbag, working out with kettlebells, dumbbells, barbells, even weight machines, you know, whatever that person kind of finds in their niche. And Dan can definitely speak to kettlebells because he loves kettlebells. But whatever that person's niche is and whatever they love, we try and spur them on and guide them in that direction, and then give them more, I guess, a wider wider range of exercises that they can implement that would make that certain piece of equipment, make it apply to more functional areas of firefighting. So like you said, it is individualized, but there's also a good general approach that we like to communicate with firefighters. And Dan, if you want to touch on that, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, honestly, it's a good segue into the workshop that we teach called the Big 8 of Firefighter Functional Fitness. I mean, the application aspect of training, not really, we don't call it exercise and we call it training. So, because it's with purpose, is really broken down into 8 key areas, which we call the Big 8. All right, and that's basically what we're going to be talking about when we're out at FDIC. We're going to focus on areas. We're going to focus on core strength, cardiovascular capacity, flexibility, and then we're going to talk about 5 functional strength components. And that's very simple because for firefighters, because it's what we do. That's push, pull, lift, carry, and drag. So the exercises and movements that we're going to be teaching you, or we're going to be doing or encouraging, are going to revolve around at least one, if not more, of those components of the Big 8, right? And that's what makes them functional. So as long as you can answer yes to the 3 questions, is it safe, is it effective, and is it functional, then you're on the right track and you're probably doing something right. So on an individual level, the approach needs to be for performance and function, not chest day, leg day, ab day, quad day, whatever. That's what we're focused on. Pinky day, yeah. Don't forget about Pinky Day. So I don't know if that answers your question or.
Yeah. I think that really does. And we're getting the points that are key. These are the things. So I knew Tony Carroll was going to be tweeting the hell out of us here shortly. Yeah. So and he and I have conversations all the time, most of which I won't talk about on here. But so some of the things Tony brought up, one was talking about we're talking about physical, but we're also talking about our mental health. We're talking about sleep deprivation problems that we've covered. We're talking about, you know, the physical stuff that leads to the mental stuff, I think. So those are key, you know, our diet, obviously. You know, there's some fire departments that I know of that have brought in nutritionists and dietitians to talk to their guys. It's pretty funny when we go for our annual physicals. We go to a occupational health place here in Jersey, and they do give us an NFPA physical. They have caught some things that we really, thank God they caught. And one of the things, they have this questionnaire: would a nutritionist, a dietitian help you? Well, yeah, of course it would help me if I'm willing to listen to them. So, you know, I can tell you, last night I was driving home from teaching a class at 11 o'clock last night, and I had an hour-and-a-half ride home, and I hadn't eaten yet. It was dashboard dining. It wasn't good, you know. And this morning I woke up and went, damn it, why did I do that? So they can tell us all we want, but until we buy in, you know, again, leading us to water type thing. One of the other things that Tony brought up was yoga. So I'll ask you guys about yoga, and I'll tell you my personal thing is, when we brought in our trainer, for a while we had this fellow who was doing all kinds of good stuff with us, lots of different cross training. He got a new job, couldn't do it any longer, and said, hey, listen, my wife is a trainer. She's outstanding. She'll come work with you. She introduced us to yoga. And, you know, it was the big joke in the beginning, but man, it was fantastic. And I felt better. And now my kid and my ex-wife go to yoga, and I watch them, and I'm thinking, this just totally makes sense for us. You know,
Yeah.
it really does. So where do you guys, Steve, you probably do yoga in Florida. I mean, it's just, you know, you guys are into it.
Actually, we the same story you were telling me initially. It was kind of like, what are we doing here? We actually developed a training module. One of our battalion chiefs was really into it, and we developed a training module and had some of our folk get into it. And I'm glad you brought it up, because as I'm developing the curriculum for the next rookie class, I'd like to kind of, you know, see if that's something that we like to incorporate in there. I think I would like to try at least a day of it, or at least a session, and kind of let them go from there. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts as well on that.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. You know, we have a whole chapter that's dedicated to flexibility within our book, and we partner up with, hopefully you've heard of them, Yoga for First Responders, with Olivia Mead, and she is just awesome and just expanding. And it comes back to that educational aspect, like Aaron was saying. It comes back to educating firefighters that yoga is not contorting and twisting yourself into a crazy pretzel-like position. And more than anything, yoga is about breath and resiliency, as opposed to, you know, people typically say, oh, it's just about stretching, and I can't do that because it's too hard. But I think we need to start challenging our firefighters in different aspects, including using yoga and simple functional yoga that's not overly complicated. Yoga for First Responders definitely helps do that. And we're honored to partner with them. And we, in our book, have over 36 different stretches, simple stretches for firefighters to use. Some of them are yoga poses, if you will, and some of them are just simple stretches that we probably all learned growing up. But we can't neglect our flexibility, because if we have poor flexibility, we're going to have poor mobility, and we can't move well. And we already know, carrying 70 pounds of personal protective equipment, you know, breathing on air from our tank, we all know that we're highly restricted when we put on our PPE. So the more that we can increase our mobility, our flexibility, our range of motion, the better off we're going to be. And like Aaron said before, the more that we'll be able to decrease our strains, our sprains, and other injuries that are included in that.
I think it's important to mention, and I don't mean to completely go off topic here, but I see some notes here, and I would personally thank Bill Carey he's assisted me in a lot of the data compilation for some of the presentations that we've done, and it's important to reemphasize, I think, as I said earlier, that we've got to approach this from a comprehensive standpoint, right? So the yoga, the stretching, the flexibility, whatever it is that we're deficient on in terms of physical fitness is one of the things that we have to accomplish. But we've got to remember that, and as Bill likes to say, pre-plan the building, pre-plan our bodies, right? We cannot ignore the other aspects of our own health and wellness. We have to, I mean, before you even set foot in the gym, you've got to get to the doctor. You've got to get a baseline of what's going on in your own body, where you stand right now. That could be for identifying undiagnosed conditions in terms of your heart and your vascular system. It could be possibly discovery of a cancer or anything like that you're not going to know about unless you get to the doctor. So it's just really important. I know Jim and I talk about this a lot, and I think sometimes people tend to look at us and focus on physical fitness when they hear our names, but we definitely preach that comprehensive approach, and we have to, you know, I'll tell anybody before you even set foot in the gym, if you're not seeing a doctor, you need to see somebody and get a baseline, and then go from there. The yoga, the flexibility, all that goes to injury prevention, reduction, faster recovery time, better performance, again, on the fire ground. There's so many benefits to what we're doing and talking about here. But it's a comprehensive approach. And I know I've said it before, but I can't emphasize it enough.
Yeah, and that's and you know, Bill giving us this information makes it even more poignant because of the stuff that Bill went through in the last year, and thank God that everything's going well for him now, because that is it. The preemptive strike is how I look at going to the doctor. If I can catch it early, and again, as we get older, this stuff is out there. We know it more and more. I've been doing more work with companies that are putting out products for cancer prevention type things, you know, trying to get ourselves cleaned up a little bit, those types of things. I just believe in it. I didn't see it 20 years ago. We weren't smart enough. I see it now, and there's no difference with our physical fitness. We know it. And I'm seeing this too, where some academies are doing really, really well with this, and then some academies are shying away from it. And in New Jersey, we've got such a kind of a cluster of everything that it's a little bit troublesome when you watch it. The county that I've worked for, the local academy there, they were never high on physical fitness. They didn't want to alienate any of the volunteers. Well, we need everybody. Well, we do need everybody, but we need everybody that can physically do the job, and that's the difference, even in the volunteer setting. So I know that that's something. A lot of times we get accused of, well, you're aiming everything to the career guys. As we've said,
we aim everything to firefighters, firefighters are firefighters.
Exactly, Dan.
Right, and I'm in Pennsylvania, so if you want to talk about volunteer fire service,
exactly,
come on over to Pennsylvania, and that's what we are here pretty much. So it's not punitive, it's not against anybody. It's
right.
You know, and it's a microcosm of anywhere across the country what you're talking about. I think, Aaron, we were just in New Jersey for 4 days teaching programs up in Bloomfield, and the attitude there is complete opposite of what you just mentioned. They are in 100% into it. They've got things going on, and so it can change.
And that really is the key. And that was my point, was the fire's never discriminated against any of us, nor should this. And that's where we have to get the buy-in from everybody, because this is about protecting our communities and our families and ourselves. So it seems like it would be very basic, but it unfortunately isn't always very basic. So
and I think it comes back to, like we talked about, the individual taking baby steps. It's also about the fire departments taking baby steps, and it's not. And what's the old metaphor? How do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time, right? You're not going to eat the whole elephant in 5 minutes, So that's the thing, is like, so many people are like, I don't know where to start with my fire department. And our chief's like, I want us to get healthier, which is awesome. That's the first step, is that desire to want to improve the fire department. So again, if anyone out here is going to FDIC, please attend our class on Thursday at 3:30. I mean, it is all about this stuff, and simple, practical, step-by-step things that every fire department can implement. We had some, it looks like on Twitter, we had some comments about NFPA standards. And if you want to know any standards for firefighter fitness and health, NFPA 1582, NFPA 1583, and NFPA 1584, which is the rehab and a rehab standard. Those are three key, along with NFPA 1500. Those are the key NFPA standards where it's lined out. I mean, medical examinations. What should we check for with our firefighters? Physical fitness standards and examinations. What should we be assessing? What should we be doing for rehab? Do we even do rehab? So all these different things that are lined out for us that are right in the standards, and it doesn't take, it's not very hard to download that standard and say, okay, maybe we can't adopt this whole thing right now, but let's do 3 things to improve a change at our fire department. Let's start doing medical evaluations that are voluntary. And eventually, within the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to phase it into where it's mandatory to do medical evaluations per NFPA 1582. And the same thing for physical fitness evaluations. Let's start voluntary, because I'm sure some people want to know where they're at physically, with their physical fitness. Let's start a voluntary program, and then eventually 5 to 10 years from now, it's just part of the culture, and it's mandatory that we're doing physical fitness evaluations every year. Example, in my fire department, it's not directly related to NFPA 1583. However, we started what we call a physical agility assessment. It is 8 stations that we have to do as firefighters, all frontline operational firefighters, from the newest all the way up to the oldest, and including battalion chiefs. And now our fire chief, assistant chief, deputy chiefs all do this now. It's 8 different stations. We have full gear on, and the last 3 to 4 stations we're masked up. And it's simple firefighting skills, dragging 5-inch hose, connecting it to a hydrant, carrying a ladder, just stuff like that. The first couple of years we did it, it was mandatory. However, there was no specific time limit on it. We just said, we're just going to do this. And if it takes you 25 minutes to do these 8 stations, so be it. And it might take a different guy 5 minutes to do it. But eventually we got it to where, okay, now there's a 15-minute time limit. Now it's to where it's a 12-minute time limit. So firefighters of all ages, ranks, whatever, have no excuse. They know that this is coming every year, and they can specifically train to pass it and make sure that they're building up their skills to get better at doing it. That's just one of the things that my fire department we've done, and anybody can do that at their own fire department. So I got a little long-winded, so I'll stop talking now. Sorry.
That's good though, and leading from the top and leading from the bottom can really come together. And when firefighters see chief officers and company officers in the gym or on the training drill ground, helping them stretch a line and practicing their skills and keeping things up, I think that goes a long way. I really do. My chief in my house, he's in the gym more than the rest of us, but we see that. And to me, that's always a sign of leadership too. So offering these programs, but yet not just offering them from the desk, offering them and then being a part of those. And
my good friend, Jake Rhodes, he's a chief out in Arizona, has been quoted as saying, as chiefs, we are not exempt from the shalls. And it's the truth. And we have to set that example. And I think getting back to the class and the different challenges that different fire departments face, I think it really, what it requires is an honest and thoughtful introspection of your own department. Every department has their own issues and challenges. If we talk about 10 or 11 different steps to creating that health and wellness culture, you may have 5 or 6 of them in place already at your department. Maybe we can help you, or somebody can help you get the other ones going. But you have to be willing and honest to step up and look at what's going on with your department and find a place to start. And that might just be voluntary physicals for this year. It might be whatever it is. You've got to do something. We know, from the data that the NFPA has been able to collect that really like 27% of the fire departments in this country have even a basic health and wellness program. So, and from what I understand, that's down from their previous needs assessment. So the issue is real. Everybody wants to agree about it, but as the data shows and the statistics show, that the action is far less. There's a lot less action than there is agreement. So I think it really takes finding a starting spot, finding common ground. If you're working with a union and management, or labor management issues, finding some kind of common ground where you can agree and get started doing something, and you'll soon see the benefits of it, and hopefully you'll build from there.
Excellent. Well, I think we've covered a lot. We've got a few more minutes left, and I still want to stay on it, because I guess we talked about the medical evaluations. We talked about these types of things. Maybe they need to be voluntary. Maybe you go through your health insurance to start, and the department can pick up a piece, or the copay, or whatever the case may be. But I guess the big thing is impressing on our people and impressing on our town fathers, or whoever controls the purse strings, truly the importance of firefighter health and safety and their ability to continue to do their job. There was that old story that Tom Brennan, rest his soul, when he was chief in Waterbury and needed more firefighters, and went to him and they said, you know, well, this costs too much money. And obviously I'm paraphrasing, but Tom said, well, do you know what a firefighter fatality is going to cost you? What's a line of duty death going to cost you? And they didn't obviously know that number. And he threw out, you know, some amazing number, like, you know, it's going to cost you $1 million or $3 million or $5 million or whatever. I'm sure Bobby could tell the story better than I, but they bit. And when he walked out of the room, the assistant chief asked him, how'd you know that number? And he said, I didn't, I made it up. And it worked, you know. But the bottom line is, it is going to cost our communities a lot if we're dying in the line of duty, especially so many preventable things. Or not even dying in the line of duty, but we're getting sick, and now we're disabled and we're off the job with cancers and cardiac issues and everything else. These are the things that town fathers understand. They understand dollar signs when it comes to that. We understand that we want our people to come home. So I think we need to find a way to mesh that together and make the push even further. And what you guys are doing, Dan and Jim, what you guys are doing, and the other guys who are pushing physical fitness in the fire service, you're changing the culture a little at a time. And to me, that's really, really big. That we need it. We need the voices out there beating that drum. And I'm glad. And if I can get to the class on Thursday, 3:30, right? Thursday afternoon, I'm going to do my best to be there.
We're trying. We're doing it. Like I said, we like to tell people that we're trying to help create a healthier fire service, one firefighter at a time. And I think that's, you know, that keeps us pretty busy. That's going to keep us pretty busy for a while. But, you know, it's about changing attitudes and hearts and minds. And as you all know, you know, it was, I don't know, I was riding tailboard and using my air pack as an emergency device when I started in the fire service. And well, I mean, we've changed things. We can change, regardless of when people say the two things we hate the most are change and keeping everything the same. We can improve things that need to be improved, you know, not just change for the sake of change. And we're talking about improvement. We're not just talking about change for the sake of change here. So it's, I think, something everybody can agree on, not so much like, you know, how to attack a fire. I mean, we say, you know, you can argue about fire tactics. Our job is to help keep you alive so that you can. So
that's a good philosophy.
Yeah, so
Jim, any final thoughts as we wrap up here?
No, we're so honored to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity for us to just share our passion and share our message. This is what we love doing, and we're grateful that we get to talk about firefighter fitness because, as you already said, Aaron, it's just such a big issue that I think we overcomplicate, and it's really simple because it comes back to ownership, and it comes back to our own accountability and our own attitude and mindset for ourselves. When we take better care of ourselves individually, it's going to be exponential from there. And we don't have to worry so much about, you know, dollars and cents and, you know, SOPs and policies and whether or not I can or can't work out on duty and all this stuff. It really comes back to the individual. And we just need to take better ownership of ourselves. Like I said before in the beginning of this talk, if we don't have our health, if we don't have our fitness, what do we have? We have absolutely nothing. So we have to take care of ourselves. And that doesn't mean we have to be perfect. Like, you know, like you getting that fast food meal on the way home from training all day long. We don't have to be perfect. But it's all about balance. It's all about that moderation, trying to make better, smaller, better choices day in, day out. Whether it's taking a nap, and when we're workaholics like me, you know, whether it's taking that 20 to 30 minute nap when we need to, or whether it's just slowing down, drinking one less soda a day, drinking more water, bringing that water around with us, all those different things that we can do, those small changes, those small steps that we need to implement individually.
Awesome. Steve, any closing thoughts?
You guys are doing an amazing thing here, and thank you for inspiring those who are just getting started looking into these things. It's like you said, how do you need an elephant? One bite at a time. And it's going to take, for some agencies, a lot longer than some of the other agencies who have already been there and crossed those paths. So thank you for the work you're doing. I've started following you recently, and I followed you because another buddy I worked with was following you and constantly posting your Instagram and sharing all that stuff. And I love looking at your daily reminders to be healthy and to do this and all the other things you're putting out there. So thank you so much for what you're doing. You guys are part of that cultural change, and it's just wonderful to be able to talk with both of you and interact with you guys and talk shop with you guys.
Well, we appreciate it, and we're glad it's helping.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Definitely is. So thank you so much for what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Awesome. Well, as we're wrapping up here and we're coming to the end of our Hangout, want to remind everybody that we will see you next week in Indianapolis for FDIC. There are so many great events you want to attend. But since we're talking health and fitness, I'm going to pump my dear friend's event the most. The Courage and Valor 5K is run every year there Thursday along the White River Canal. And it's awesome, and it raises a ton of money for a really good cause. Sue Shepard and Bobby put that together many years ago, I think 12 years ago now. And again, you want to take part in fitness, you can walk it, you can run it, you can jog it, you can do whatever that you like, but you're getting out there, you're getting out with other firefighters, and you're doing it for a good cause. So we want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for tuning in. This gets archived, so you'll have a chance to see it if you missed this live. And guys, we will see you in a few days, and it's going to be, I can't wait. It's exciting. So thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take care, guys.